CSID determines how much money you earn. CSID in real estate determines how many listings you can take, how much market share you can grab, how many buyers you work with. CSID even determines how many referrals you can get. My Winner Circle fam and all the real estate agents watching this on replay, CSID stands for dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientious. It is the 4 major personality types that exist in this world today. Learning how to master and work with people is the #1 key fundamental tactic, skill, life lesson you have to master in order to gain anything you want in life. By a show of hands, I want everyone to raise their hand or unmute yourself or drop it in the chat. How many of you work with human beings? Only 13 of you out of 40? How many of you sell real estate to human beings? Last question. By show of hands, how many of you speak, talk to, have interacted with human beings every single day of your existence while on planet Earth? So we can all agree that knowing how to work with these human beings is pretty important, right? If there's one thing you're going to learn how to do, it's learning how to work with human beings. It's not learning how to manage a transaction. It's not learning how to take a listing. It's not learning contracts. It's not learning how to open a lockbox. It's not learning how to manage your own schedule and waking up at 5 a.m. and putting your bare feet on the ground and doing deep breath work. That's not what you need to learn how to do. The #1 thing that us as real estate agents to become top performers in this world is learning how to execute with other human beings at a high level. It's learning how to talk to them, console them. It's learning how to actively listen. It's also learning how to pull out their motivation and some of their self-interest and learning how to use all that in a way that benefits them. Learning how to work with human beings means, how do I put myself aside and put your needs first? So Winner Circle fam, today I'm going to teach you a couple of key important points. #1, I'm first going to talk about how to work with people, some of the key fundamentals you need to know on interacting with people from a person-to-person perspective and also a leadership perspective. The second thing I'll be teaching you today are the 4 major personality types, what they consist of, how you should work with them, and what they think. So if you're out there in the audience right now, by show of hands, drop it in the chat below. How many of you guys are excited today to learn how to master and work with other people? How many of you out there excited to finally learn how to talk to this 80-year-old white guy or 21-year-old African-American or 30-year-old Hispanic guy that barely speaks English? There's major personalities that are out there, different types of people. And some of you, I know from personal experience that some of you have a hard time breaking through those barriers. How do I connect? How do I speak? What do I do? Because I feel weird on the inside when I talk to someone that I'm not used to speaking to. Okay, I get it. You're a top producer and you work with one type of personality your whole career, but yet you put you out of that genre. Let's say we take you out of that $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 price point. We put you in a $5 million price point with someone who owns multiple companies, this Fortune 500 CEO, graduated from an Ivy League school, and let's see you dominate that real estate market. Well, let's just see how you even connect with that person. Some of you feel uncomfortable when you go out there, you start networking at events. Yeah, you're really out there when it comes to being on social media. Maybe you're really out there when it comes to being with friends and family. But come on, how many of us, be honest, by show of hands, we sometimes get a little quiet when we're around a group of people that we're not used to being around? Be honest, show of hands. A lot of us. Look at the chat. It's a lot of us. So today I'm going to teach you how to work with people. Today I'm going to teach you how to get into those groups and connect with everyone and be the most liked person in the room. I'm going to teach you how to go to a listing appointment, a showing, a buyer consultation, a networking event, and be the most liked and remembered person. Not because you were the loudest and the most obnoxious, because you're the one who connected with most people and left an everlasting impact. I'm going to make sure that the next time you go to a listing appointment on a referral or a cold call that someone reached out to you, that you're physically and emotionally and mentally prepared to walk into there because you identified their personality type over the phone. And therefore, you've customized your presentation to match that person's personality. So if you're excited in the chat to learn how to master people, I want to go ahead and drop I. Go ahead and drop I in the chat. Let me see the chat. Drop I if you're excited to learn how to work with these personality types. I don't know where my chat's at. I don't see if anyone's typing or not. Cheers. Anyone typing? We're not going to get started until we see some eyes.
Everyone is typing. I.
Winner circle. First thing I want to teach you. I'm going to teach you 6 ways. That's 6 ways to make people like you. So pull out your phones, pull out your pen, pull out your notebook, get ready to take some notes. Gabe, I can watch the recording. Oh, but Gabe, I learn more when I listen and I read. I get it. But can we all agree that business is the ultimate sport in life? Yes, it's the ultimate sport. It's the only sport in life that matters, which is business. And your points on the scoreboard is your liquidity. It's the amount of net worth that you have. How much money do you have? Those are your points. And in business, the person with the most amount of points wins. So if you look at your bank account today and you're not happy, then take my advice. Pull out a pen, pull out a piece of paper, and write. Because science has proven to us that when you take a writing utensil and you put it on paper, while you're listening, 17 times more neural pathways are created in the brain. New synapses are created, the neurons start firing. You actually retain the information more when you write as you're listening. So if you want that advantage, go ahead and take advantage of it. 6 ways to get people to like you. Number 1, this is probably the most important out of all 6. The number 1 way to get people to like you is to become genuinely interested in other people. How many of us know that one person at every networking event that you go to, they're always talking about themselves? And how many of you, right, I can think of somebody that every time you tell them a story, they always have another story to tell you. So you'll say something and they say, oh my gosh, you won't believe what happened to me too. All right, don't point at each other. Don't give anyone any dirty looks on this thing. I see a couple of you smirking over there. But you need to become genuinely interested in other people. There's something that I learned a long time ago, and it went, become interested, not interesting. See, can someone drop it in the chat? I can't see the chat because I don't know where it went, but can someone drop it in the chat below? What is everyone's favorite word in the entire world, despite language barriers, despite how you were raised? What's everyone's favorite word in the world? It's dropped in the chat. Let's see. I found the chat. Yes, I found it. Okay. Karen, Zappi, and Nunez got it first. Miss Karen got it first. Everyone's favorite word in the whole world is their name. Think about it. When I say Jacoby, you're like, oh, that's me. When I say Karen, you light up like a Christmas tree. When I said Karen got it first, I don't know if you guys saw her on the screen. She had a little Chuck E. Cheese grin. She was like, ooh, yeah. That's because everyone's favorite word in the entire world is their own name. So what I want you to do now is become more interested in that other person versus interesting. This is the number 1 way to get people to like you. See, most of us go out throughout life and no one ever listens to us. No one ever talks to us. We don't have someone that we could just dump everything onto. So we're walking around our whole life just stressed out, and we have all this weight on our shoulders, and we're so fed up with everything. And finally, when we get to a breaking point, they say, go talk to a therapist. And then you end up paying all this money just to have someone to listen to you. Because we want to have someone who's interested in us. So ladies and gentlemen, the number 1 way to get people to like you is to become more interested, not interesting. Number 2, this one's simple, ladies and gentlemen, and a lot of you got to work on this. It's smiling. Smiling. Let me tell you something about my lovely wife. Her name is Cherish. A lot of you may not know I'm married to her because we don't post a lot of pics. She doesn't post a lot of photos of me on social media. Cherish, that's okay. I forgive you. But the beautiful thing about my wife is she is always smiling, always happy. Life is tough, and it hasn't been easy for her, nor has it been easy for both of us. But one thing I can tell you that has always drawn me closer to my wife is her light. How many here, drop it in the chat, how many of us know someone named Monica Singer, Lamaidi Molina? Drop it in the chat. How many of you know? Go ahead. Cynthia says yes. Only one person knows those two. Stephanie, Bea. I do. I love them. Yes. Look how excited everyone is just to say that they know you guys, you ladies. Look at that. That's incredible. Monica Singer, light. Lamaidi, light. Cherish, light. They just smile and they radiate happiness. They just always look so cheerful. Isn't that energy attractive for some reason? And then we wonder to ourselves, well, how did Lamaidi become the president of NARREP? And how did she grow such a large organization? How is Monica Singer so successful? How did Cherish land Gabe? No, I'm just joking. It's because they smile and it makes them attractive. So a lot of us out there, we have to work on our cara de fuchi. Get rid of this, oh, I'm too cool, bro. So I'm just going to walk around like emo. That's not good. It might be cool for the gram, but it's not cool for business. Ryan Serhant, one of the most popular, successful real estate agents in our generation. That boy always has a Chuck E. Cheese smile, very enthusiastic. So number 2, smile. Number 3, talked about this already. Remember that a person's name to that person is the sweetest and most important sound in any language. So step number 3 on how to get people to like you. When you're talking to them, address them by name. Say something like, Diana. Good to see you, Miss Diana Herrera. She's like, oh, that's me. Step number 4 in getting people to like you is become a good listener and encourage other people to talk. Can someone open up their mic right now and tell me what type of questions might you ask someone that will allow them to elaborate on a response? Not just give you a short answer, but how will the question begin in order for them to elaborate and get them to elaborate on their response? Anyone?
What did you guys do on vacation?
I like that. Yes. What else? Come on. There's that's one of the 4. What are the other 3? Come on, salespeople. You guys are some
What
of
is your short-term goal?
All right, I like it. We're on the right track. Let me make it easy for you. It sounds like we're all just kind of waking up, which is weird. It's kind of late. It is who, what, when, where, and how. Does anyone know what those are called? Those are called? No one. Okay. They're called open-ended questions.
Open-ended question.
We're going to have to work with all of you this year. This is going to be a long year, ladies and gentlemen, but we're going to get you there, I promise. You're part of the winner's circle. We'll get you there. Open-ended questions, or questions that start with who, what, when, where, and why. So I might say to someone like, hey, America, I heard it was just your birthday. So what did you do for your birthday? And then America's like, oh my gosh, I went here, the girls did this, and Rocio did that, and you wouldn't even believe it. And then I might go to Mariana and say, Mariana, I heard you just got challenged by Jose and his team to see if you can have more transactions in 2024. And she's like, oh yeah, we're going to crush him, we're going to beat him, we're going to do this. Open-ended questions allow the audience, the other person you're speaking to, it allows them to elaborate on the response. And then when they're done, here's what I want you to do because you're actively listening. I want you to find one point in that response that you can ask another open-ended question on. Now listen, here's the kicker. It's important not just to ask the question and just sit there like this. Do I look interested? Remember step number 1. Do I look interested?
No.
No. Step number one was what? What was step number one on getting people to like you?
Be interested, not
Be
interested.
interested, not interesting. Say it again. What is it?
Be interested.
Be interested, not interesting.
Step number one is be interested, not interesting. Step number four says be a good listener. So you're going to ask them open-ended questions. How was this? Oh my gosh, it was X, Y, and Z. No way. Tell me more about that. What happened when you guys did that? Oh my gosh, you won't believe X, Y, and Z, A, B, C, D. And before you know it, you're 4 or 5 minutes into a conversation about it. Now, drop into the chat by show of hands. How many of us struggle with concluding a conversation that you know is already coming to an awkward end, where both of you start looking around and like, yeah, so yeah, he that says me, Jessica says me, she says help. Yes, it gets a little awkward sometimes when both of you were talking. Karen, if you have a question, go ahead, open your mic. I see your hand raised.
Oh, no, sorry. I was just saying that I've done that.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. It's really awkward and uncomfortable. There's only so many times you can ask them who, what, when, where, and why until it seems like an interrogation. And you're like, damn, why is she being all chismosa, asking me all these questions about my life? I quit being weird. I don't want that realtor. She's weird. So let me give you guys a hint on how to recognize when it's time to transition the conversation. You guys ready for it? This is it. During that conversation, while you're trying to convince people to like you, and you're asking them open-ended questions, and you're actively listening, and you're smiling while you're doing it, there will be a point in time in the conversation where it starts to get a little awkward, and both of you are kind of just like, you feel it. You know when that's happening. You're either looking around, both of you start to laugh at really stupid things. Like, oh, it's kind of awkward. That's the time you transition. That's the time to transition. My favorite transition question is this. Awesome. So what do you guys have planned after this? What do you guys have planned after this? Oh, we're going to do this, that, and the other. Awesome. Hey, enjoy that. It was good chatting with you. I'll talk to you soon. Always end the conversation on a high note. Think of it as a roller coaster. You're building rapport. You're building rapport. You're asking these questions. You're going up. You're going up. You're going up. And right before you climax, right before you drop on the roller coaster, before you lose the excitement and it goes away, and then you end it on a bad note, right there at the very top, where sort of like, what are you guys doing next? Well, that's awesome. Well, hey, enjoy it. I'll chat with you soon. It's so good talking to you. And before you know it, you left them with this high feeling. Their endorphins are flooded throughout the bloodstream, throughout the brain. They're just so excited that they met you. And then they walk away and say this. There's something about her. I really liked her. There's something about that guy that I don't know what it is, but I liked it. I'll tell you what it is. You spent the majority of the time talking about them, and they didn't have to pay you. Number 5, talk in terms of other person's interest, which we just talked about, and kind of went through all the different points. And number 6, make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. Don't sit there and over-exaggerate like, wow, tell me more. What happened? All silly and dumb. Like, genuinely make them feel important. Well, Gabe, how do I do that? I'm glad you asked. Tonality, eye contact, body language. What does a therapist do other than just lay you down on the couch and talk to you? What do they do with their tonality? What do they do with their eyes? What do they do with their body language? Ladies and gentlemen, listen carefully. I'm giving you the key on how to connect with those $5 million clients. I'm giving you the key how to walk into any networking event and connect with any person at any time. What they do is they lean in, they change their tonality, and they get really interested. For those who have kids, I want you to think about when your kids come home from school and you're asking them how the day went, after their tournament, after they came back from 6th grade camp. For those of us who have pets, think about you were gone for a couple of days and you come back and you see little Skippy all running around happy. Oh, how are you doing? Not that exaggerated, but you get the point. Maybe you haven't seen grandma for a few years, a couple of months, a couple of weeks, and you go see grandma, you're like, "Ama, ¿cómo estás? Grandma, how you doing?" You're not like this, chewing your gum. "Eh, Ama, ¿cómo estás? Oh, qué bueno. Okay, está bien. Bye." Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. Those are the 6 most effective ways to get any person to like you. Next. What are we doing on time? 10:30? All right, we got to speed it up a little bit. Is this too heavy for this morning? Is this okay with all of you? By show of hands, drop it in the chat. Is this okay? Is this too heavy? So you guys kind of then, some of you smiling, some of you eating, some of you sleeping. Drop in the chat. I need to know where we're at with everything. How are we doing? I love it. I got 4.5 people. I say half because my wife doesn't fully count. She's always cheering for me. Thank you, my love. Okay, everyone's awake. Cool. Next, we're going to discuss how to win people to your way of thinking. How do we effectively win people to your way of thinking? Well, how many of you have been in an argument before? Latinas, don't raise your hand because all of you will. And you got so frustrated with the other person, whether it's a family member, a friend, a significant other, and you just think a yelling match just seems fair. Or maybe you end up in name calling. Or maybe you do something even worse. You pull something up from the past and say, "Look at that." And then you guys start going tick for tack, tick for tack. This is why. You end up playing this nasty game that no one wins. So I'm going to tell you the best way to win an argument. The best way to win an argument, when we're talking about getting people to win your way of thinking, is to avoid it completely. How to win people to your way of thinking is to avoid the argument completely. The second way that you get people to win to your way of thinking is that you show respect for other people's opinions. You never say you're wrong. That doesn't make sense. You actually tell them something like this. "You know what? I never thought of it like that. That's interesting that you say that." Something special happens when you tell the other person, "That's interesting. I've never heard it said like that. It's something for me to think about." All of a sudden, that guard goes from being up here because I need to stand up and I need to protect my ego and prove that I'm right. My guard comes from here to all the way down here. And now because of the law of reciprocity, am now open to hearing your point of view. I don't want to argue with you. I want to listen to your opinion. I want to respect it. That's interesting. I've never thought of it that way. Thank you for letting me know. Number 3, if you are wrong, quickly admit it. "Hey guys, I dropped the ball on that one. That was my fault. Hey guys, I recommended that we do this and it was a wrong suggestion. We actually should have went with Cherish's recommendation." Number 4, I have to go a little quicker because we're on time and I just got the red buzzer from the boss. Number 4, begin in a friendly way. So if you want to win someone to your way of thinking, start it in a friendly way. Now, some of us, Latinas specifically, oh, you ladies, I know because I was raised by one and I'm married to one. Y'all carry that thing deep inside and all day you're thinking about how you're going to grill us. All day you can't wait to let us have it. And so you're building up this energy inside. And some of you ladies, and maybe this might resonate with some of you fellas, you're building up this energy. I can't wait to let, when I see that, oh my gosh, I can't wait to let them have it. You have to get rid of that feeling because that's going to automatically trigger something subconsciously inside of them and they'll get defensive. So the best way to do it is to get curious about their perspective. Gabe, when I get mad, I get mad. I understand. I'm giving you a tool right now on how to work through that. When you get upset, when you get mad, when you want to prove a point and you want to start a conversation with someone, don't do it in a negative state. Don't do it while you're upset. Instead, rather do this. If you need a few moments before you talk, walk away. But if it's right there face to face and it's happening right now, the quickest way to defuse the way that you're feeling is to get curious about their point. So you start it in a friendly way. Number 5, on how to win people to your way of thinking, is to get the other person saying yes immediately. Can someone tell me my favorite type of questions to ask? If you guys know me well, and I've done a lot of trainings for you, what are my favorite type of questions to ask? How do I ask my questions? Anyone, go ahead. Who knows me well enough? Open the mic.
Open-ended questions.
I do like to ask open-ended questions, but there's a different type of question I like to ask. I'm really hoping one of you can get this. There's one of you that I'm hoping you can get this one right. What is it? What type of question do I always ask you guys? Everyone, all of you, if you've ever had a conversation with me, I always ask this type of question.
Usually you ask, like, what do we need, or how can you help?
I love that. Yes, these are all right, but there's one of my favorite that I always do. Open your mic if you know it. Drop it in the chat if you know it.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
All those are right, but my favorite question to ask in any scenario.
Yes questions?
Yes. Ah, it's a yes question. Did you get it? Yes. Does that make sense? Yes. Are you picking up what I'm picking? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Yes. Would that be helpful? Yes. Isn't that great? Yes. I am always grounding my answer in a yes question, my statement in a yes question. So I might say something to you guys. Hey, but really quickly, by show of hands, is all this making sense to you guys? Yes? Cool. You see what I just did? Look what all you just did.
Maybe. No, I'm just kidding.
All of you were like this. Yeah. I didn't give you an opportunity to say yes, no, or maybe. I just gave you the option to say yes. This makes sense, right? Right. It's helpful, right? Yeah. I get you to agree quickly with me. Who knows what that's called? Come on, I made an Instagram video about it and it went viral. What's it called? I'm asking you guys because I forgot what I called it, but hopefully you guys can find it later. 7. Number 7, win people to your way of thinking. Let the other person feel that the idea is his or hers. You have to implant the conversation in such a way that the idea comes from them. Now, this one's going to take a little bit of time and we're behind on time, so I might have to do a part 2 on this. But this one's so important. Listen to me on this one. Leaders on the call, if you have children, if you have a team underneath you, if you run an organization, if you have another business that you own, you must catch this, what I'm putting down right here. You have to make sure that that idea comes from them. Does anyone know how to do that? Does anyone know how to make sure that that idea comes from them? You have to frame your questions in a way that you end up guiding them down a path that they give you the answer that you expected them to have. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, the team and I, we sat down in a conference room and I was like, okay, guys, today we're going to come up with our mission statement, our vision statement, and our value system. And I had everyone around in a big conference room and they're like all sitting there and I had them got some pizza and some whatever. We're all just sitting there at the table. All right, first value. And guess what? I already had, side note, I had already selected the values for our team on what I believe we should be representing as people in business. I said, money needs to be in there. I need my agents to value money because if they don't value money, they won't do the work. I need my team to value integrity because if they're not integrous and honest and good people, we're never going to sustain and be in business a long time. So I said things like this. I'm like, okay, what do you guys think we represent? And they started throwing all these ideas out. And then I said, okay, that's a good question right there. What did you say right there? Well, I think we're good people. Well, how else would you say good people? Well, honest, that's a good one. What else? What else would you think? Integrity, key word. Integrity. How about you guys? Do you guys agree with that? Yeah, I agree with that. So do we all agree that integrity is one of our values? Yes. And I was like able to allow them to come up with the idea. And when people create it, they own it. Write that down. When people create it, they own it. Number 8, try honesty. This is how you win people the way you're thinking. Try honesty to see things from the other person's point of view. Number 9, be sympathetic with other person's ideas and desires. Number 10, appeal to the nobler motives. You know who did that really well? Muhammad Gandhi, Mother Teresa, MLK, Cesar Chavez. They all did that really, really well. Dramatize your ideas. And number 12, put down a challenge. Yo, that's how you win people to the way of your thinking. Leaders, this one's for you. I'm going to show you how to be a leader, how to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. Here we go. Yeah, reverse psychology, Myra. That was a good one. We call it reverse psychology. I'm looking at the chat. Any questions at all? Before I go on to this next part, any questions at all? Anything we got to elaborate on? If there's no questions or any questions or elaboration needed, what I want you guys to do is I want you to drop it in the chat. What's been your biggest takeaway up to this point? The last thing that I want to do is overwhelm you with information today so that you don't take action. I need to give you just enough so that you can focus on a couple of key points and build from it. So drop it in the chat. What's been your biggest takeaways? Drop it in the chat. What's been your biggest takeaway so far? And we're at 10:40. So what I'll do is I'll give you guys a couple of seconds to write. Drop your ideas. What's been your biggest takeaway? And since we're at 10:40, what I might do here is I might pause and do the leader portion and the 4 personality types afterwards. Iris says I need to smile more. Karen says the importance of proper communication. Who else? I need to ignore the argument. Respect their views. Reverse psychology. I love it. What else? Thank you, Alondra. Become a better listener. Asking open-ended questions and smiling more. How to pivot in awkward convo. Amanda, that was one of mine. Become a better listener, Natalie says. I need to be more intentional with others, Karen says. Margarita says, asking more open-ended questions and smiling more. Yes, 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 and yes. Here's what we're going to do because of time. I do have some heavy points coming up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause it today right here. And we're going to schedule a part 2. If it's okay with you guys, I like to schedule a part 2 where we can allow you the next 6 days to implement what we taught you today. Implement it. And then next week we'll go and finish part 2. Is everyone okay with the part 2? Show of hands, drop it in the chat. Are we okay? Show of hands, part 2.
Yes.
I see some thumbs up. Yes, sounds great. Great information. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. It feels like that. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that meme, that one with the guy with the belly, like shoot it up. Yes, yes, yes. That's what it feels like. All right, sorry. Bad joke, bad joke. Part 2. Cherish, if you can help me out, let's schedule a part 2 for this conversation. I think it's very much needed.
All right.
Here's what I'm going to say next. This is the last thing. We'll wrap it up with this. All of your key points. It's a dad joke. Yeah, absolutely. all of these key points that we talked about today. Here's what I want you guys to do. Man, my hair's a mess. I'm sorry. I got out of the gym not too long ago. All of the key points that we discussed today that you just dropped inside of the chat. My challenge to all of you is the one that resonated the most is your intuition saying to you, we need to fix that. I need to fix that. I want all of you to turn on your RAS, your reticular activating system, the portion of the brain that's responsible for connecting, for making correlations, making connections between familiar items. That's what your RAS does, reticular activating system. For those who don't know what that is, think of yourself when you bought a car, when you first got a real estate license, when you first got your listing. Before you became a real estate agent, you didn't really look at signs. But the moment you got a listing, you started seeing signs everywhere. The moment you bought that first car, you didn't see that car everywhere. But the moment you bought it, you started seeing that car everywhere. That's what your reticular activating system does. Now that your reticular activating system has been activated, what I want you to do is to take that one thing, 2, not 3, 1 to 2 things that you have to work on. And over the next 6 days, what I want you to do is I want you to go look for those opportunities where you can implement that. So for a lot of you right now who said smile, I'm not saying you smile. Get that cara de fuchi off, put a Chuck E. Cheese smile on, and act like everything's okay. For those of you said, I need to listen more, put your phones down, stop writing, I'm talking to you, listen now. And over the next 6 days, you're going to implement these things because that's what your intuition is saying needs to be worked on. And then when we come back next Wednesday, we'll finish with part 2. And part 2 is going to be really good because we're going to be discussing how to be the leader and how to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. And that one's really good. But the next one is even better. And that's where we're going to go into the 4 personality types, identifying who they are, what motivates them, what inspires them, how to work to their interests and convince anyone so that you can take that listing from a D personality, that you can work with the buyer who's very analytical, but you're very out there and very emotional. I'm going to teach you how to master those people in part 2. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take a big photo of all of us so you guys can all put a Chuck E. Cheese smile on. Here we go. Camera's on. Smile, everyone. Smile, everyone. Smile. How many of you, drop it in the chat. How many of you guys know some people here that should have been on this training today? Drop it in the chat. How many of you guys know some people, some of your agents, some of your friends, some of your family that probably should have been on this training today? What I want you guys to do is I want you to send them a text message and say, haha, loser, you missed out. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. We're going to go ahead and take this training. We're going to upload it onto YouTube because we just got done finally revamping the YouTube channel. And we have a playlist strictly for the Winner's Circle. And you'll find the replay on there. It is unlisted. So please only share with the Winner's Circle and people on your team, because that's the value that we bring to you for saying yes to this group. Okay, here we go. Everyone smile. I'm gonna do a screenshot. Better screenshot. Ready? Smile, smile, smile. Faces on, faces on. I won't be able to tag all of you, but you're able to see. 1, 2, and got Carlos in there. Ready, set, 1, 2, and 3. Got it. All right, team. Make today a very productive day. God bless. And remember, Winner's Circle Fresno tomorrow. We'll see you guys then. Peace.
Thank you. Bye-bye.